you guys, it's Ruby from Oofy Scraps. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the first story in my December daily album for 2022. I am working off of a 10 by 8 pattern paper that came from Ali Edwards' 2022 December Daily collection. This was the pack of 10 by 8 papers that came outside of her main kit. So as soon as I saw this paper with all the gold foil frames, I knew I wanted to do kind of like a cast of characters sort of page. So this is the first story in my album, the first thing you see, and I wanted to just include photos of everyone in my immediate family. So I went through and measured all the frames and took photos of my family in front of the same wall. And I also included our four-legged family members, all of our dogs. And I did a little bit of editing to make the photos look brighter. And then I cropped them all and did some measuring. And it honestly was quite a process to get them all to fit because each of these little frames is an odd size. They're not all perfect. They're kind of wonky, which I think adds to the character of the paper, but it did make it a bit tricky. So I ended up doing that, and I didn't want the people to be in order, like chronologically from like oldest to youngest, and I didn't want like all the dogs in one part. I kind of wanted it to just look perfectly random. So I did that. And then we do have 5 dogs. So it's my parents, my siblings, my brother's fiance, my boyfriend, and then it's my parents' dogs, my brother's dog, and my boyfriend's dog. So it's like a pretty immediate family, but you know, families are all just blended up as they are. So anyways, I went through the paper and I labeled with the tape you can see on there has everyone's name so that I know who is meant to go where. Because when I measured it and ordered my photos, I wanted to make sure that when they got to me, I hadn't forgotten who went where. So I do order my photos from Costco. I recently got an email that they are no longer doing photo printing services, which is super annoying because I'm really comfortable with their website and I know how it works and stuff. But they're switching over to Shutterfly. So like I get a good discount with Shutterfly because I have a Costco membership, but I don't know, it's just not exciting to have to learn a new like software, I guess. But it is what it is. I always say that I'm happy to print not at home. Like I'm happy to order my photos. It just makes sense for me right now. The cost of buying a printer, the cost of paper, the cost of ink, and also just like the troubleshooting of printing myself is just not something I want to take on right now. And I have a really good system with ordering photos, and most of the time I don't mind editing all my photos, ordering them, and then waiting like a week or so for them to get delivered. The only time it's annoying is December Daily because I want to do Christmas and holiday crafting during that season, and ordering my photos does cause me to have a little bit of a delay. But this year I actually decided to not try and work on my December Daily at all during the month. I just wanted to live in the moment, let the stories happen. I knew like as I was going, I was thinking about, okay, what would be my stories? And I don't usually run into an issue of having too few stories. I honestly run into the issue of having too many. So I already know how many stories I've got figured out. I've got it all figured out. And I honestly might do a video explaining how I tackled December Daily this year because I really liked the way I did it. But back to what's actually happening here. So I have all my photos, like I said, figured out, and they're all printed a little bit bigger. So there's kind of like a little bit of like a gray area. What's the word? What would you call that? Like a border almost. It's not actually a border, but I gave myself a little wiggle room. That's what I was looking for around each photo so that they could be bigger than the frame itself. And I'm using an X-Acto knife just to cut inside of the gold frame, like the negative space out, because I wanted it to look like these photos were really set in the frame. So you can see what I'm doing here on the screen. And I apologize if I pop in and out of the frame a little bit. My framing wasn't perfect on this. There was a lot of careful thinking going on, so I kind of lose track of the fact that I'm filming. But once I cut my frame out, I pop my picture in, make sure it looks good, and then I'm using washi tape to very carefully go around all the edges, like really well. So the back of this page ends up looking crazy with all the washi tape, but it's fine. It works and no one's going to see it. It's going to be covered. I will say there are 2 photos I'm missing right now. I need a photo of one of my brothers and my dad. I don't have those yet, so I need to get those still, but it's fine. It's fine. You get the point of the layout, and I wanted to get started and I was excited, so it is what it is. So I definitely start by cutting out all of the easier frames. So there's a lot of like square and rectangle frames, and I wanted to get warmed up by cutting those out first because there was an oval frame I had to cut out and a circle frame, and I just wasn't ready for those yet. So I start by cutting those out. And this is like maybe not the most exciting thing to watch. I'm literally just cutting and taping and adjusting and cutting and taping, but this is how I did it. So you probably could get like the digital file and get real smart and like cut out with your, cutting machine. But this way made sense to me. And sometimes a little more labor is worth less of a headache. That saying like work smart, not hard. It's sometimes not true. Sometimes working hard is easier than trying to figure out the really smart way to do it. So that's my 2 cents on that. But yeah, I'm just going through making sure I get pretty clean cuts. I didn't want to cut into any of the gold foil of the frames if I could avoid it. I wanted to get as close as I could to it without cutting into it. So if I had a little bit of white space, it didn't bother me. I just wanted to like preserve as much of the gold as I could. But anyways, we will continue watching past Ruby work on this. And back to what I was saying. So current time, it's January 14th. I worked on this actually kind of a while ago, like multiple weeks ago, but I didn't want to stress myself out about pumping out videos or making all of the processes or, hurrying through my December daily making because I really wanted to enjoy it. And during December, obviously I'm super busy. I could have fit in time for scrapbooking, but my brain works a little better knowing kind of what's coming and planning out more in terms of this album, making sure everything meets up and works out. So it's helped me to kind of have like 6 days figured out, and then I will order those photos and kind of pre-prep those pages so that when those photos get delivered, I can work on them. And then I've been kind of working in those sort of increments. So now that it's January, mid-January, I'm trying to get a few videos out. I don't know if I will have a video for every process, but I've recorded a bunch already, so I'm sure that they'll be available. I know that some people are over December Daily right now. I know that some people haven't started. Some people aren't planning on starting for a while. And I'm sure plenty of people are finished. So I'm just showing you guys where I'm at, what I'm doing. And, even if it's not time for you to work on your December Daily, I think these are ideas for scrapbooking in general. And I just always like to see what people are up to. So I figured I'd share. And as for what's going on in real time for me, it's my birthday in 2 days, and we were supposed to go camping, but unfortunately it is pouring rain all over Southern California. So we don't get a ton of rain. We do need it. We're totally in a drought, but it's raining and I can't go camping. So we're making do with what we are dealing with. We're going to go camping in a couple weekends, but back to what's actually going on in the video. The photo I need to do next, I don't know if so I skipped forward and I didn't make you watch the rest of it. The only photo I haven't done here is the one of Moto, and it's a circle, and I did not have the confidence to cut it out, so I end up using a circle punch and punching it, and you don't see that. It just kind of magically happens. But we're going to skip forward here, and you'll see I did Moto's little thing, and I also, this acetate page, it's a Gold Star acetate. I had that on hand. I cut it down to size. So there's Moto all fixed, a little cut out perfectly. And I used a clear acrylic word sticker. I think it's from Hobby Lobby, and it was silver sparkles. This is family. So that's going to go on top of it. And then I just showed you a bunch of tags. So I wanted to include everyone's name and age. I wanted to include that on this page somewhere, but I wasn't sure where it would fit. It really is a full page with all the photos, and it's kind of busy. So I wasn't sure what to do. And then I thought, I'll just have a little tag that pulls out from behind the layout. So I started by using my typewriter and I just didn't like the way it worked. So what I ultimately decided to do was to try out a technique. I think I've seen Allie Edwards do this and maybe a few other people. I definitely didn't come up with this technique. But basically you measure your physical item you want to print on, and then you design it on your computer, you print it out on printer paper, and then you temporarily tape your item to that paper and run it through your printer. So I'm actually going to insert a little video of my printer that I took. It's kind of shaky, but just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So you can see here my printer. The paper that's on the left is essentially what I taped that blue star pattern paper tag onto, and then I ran it through. You can see it's coming through, and it prints it perfectly on top. And I don't have the best handwriting, so I didn't want to handwrite it. I didn't have letter stamps that were small enough to do everyone's names and ages, and this ends up working out perfectly. So if you saw in the beginning, like a little earlier, I had like 3 other tags. The first time I printed it, I realized I had a typo. And then the second time I printed it, I got so excited that I pulled it off the paper and I smeared the ink. So I had to do a third one, but it's a super easy technique. I was definitely a little intimidated, but it's actually super easy to do. And I don't have any kind of fancy printer. Like, this printer is just used to print like paper documents, and I didn't have any problems with jamming or anything like that. So now I want to cover the back of this. I didn't want it to be plain white, but I didn't know what to put. So I ended up just taking some of this vellum. It's probably from Michael's craft store, I'm assuming, but it's just like a brushed gold with little vellum white hearts. And I just thought it was like a little different, a little interesting, and made the tag feel a little more substantial. So I'm kind of trying to get that all lined up, and I just used double-sided adhesive to adhere it around all the edges. And because it's a mostly solid print of vellum, you don't notice the adhesive tape showing through. So yeah, I do that. I trim some edges, and then I will add some ribbon through this, and that's like pretty much all that I do. So this isn't like a perfectly completed page because I still have to get those 2 more photos printed. I have a big family, so it's a lot of things to arrange. So I'll get those 2 photos printed, but the process, essentially, you guys understand. It makes sense to you. So I'm picking out ribbon here. I end up going with the lighter blue and the gold together, which I thought was a little fun. And I also wanted to say the photos of the dogs, not that this is necessarily something anyone else is going to do, but I did need to consolidate. I didn't have enough spaces for everyone to have their own frame. So I put our 2 German Shepherds together, and then I put my brother's dog, my boyfriend's dog together. All I did was take photos of each of them individually, and then I just turned their little heads into cutout PNGs and put them together on a background of just the wall. So that sounds a little confusing. I don't use Photoshop at all. I don't do anything super fancy. I just kind of like MacGyver things together, and it works for me. So if that made sense to you, take that information and run with it. It actually was really easy to do. And because these photos are so small, any like funny details of it not working, you totally can't see. So I also think it's kind of funny that they look like they're posed together for a photo, which I don't know about you guys, but my dogs aren't great at all looking at the camera at the same time. It's a miracle to get a good photo of each as an individual. So really happy with myself that I was able to figure that out. I was able to do the printed on the tag thing, and I'm just pretty pleased with myself. So now I'm going to use some more double-sided adhesive. It's just score tape. And I'm going to tape around the tag so that when I do finish this page, I won't forget that I need to leave space for the tag to slip in. So ultimately, this will get adhered back to back with my story number 2. And I will like just not put adhesive around this tag so that it can slip in and out. This is something that like so many people have done. You probably know what I'm talking about, but just seeing it will make sense. And then of course, when you see the final flip through of my album, you'll see all this like working. I just am not going to adhere them together yet because I haven't done those other 2 frames, and also story 2 has to get done still before I can adhere it back to back, if that makes sense. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this little story. I'm going to stick it in my album so you can kind of see it all together, imagine what it will look like. But I have story number 2 already done, at the time of voice-overing this, so it will be coming soon. So you definitely will want to subscribe so you can see the next video and all the ones coming after that. But that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and comment, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.